Okay, well, hello everyone, and welcome. It's great to be with you on this Thursday afternoon. For those of you perhaps I'm meeting for the first time, my name is Myrna Atha, and I'm joined here today by my Mark. It is my Mark because it's Mark Atha, my husband. And we've got some great content we want to give you. I think you're going to find value in it, and we want to talk today about really the differences between a coach and a mentor. We've worked together now for over 30 years, and it's probably the number one question that we get from people that we work with is whether or not they should hire a coach. But without a doubt, I think that what we need to help people determine, first of all, is what's the difference between a coach and a mentor. So that will really kind of help them understand, which way they should go. So let's do a little deeper dive into that, Mark. And, I guess to begin with, let's talk about what is the difference between a coach and a mentor.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah, we have gotten that question a lot over the years from people. Um, and I think that there's some similarities, but there's perhaps even more differences. So I want to talk about those today. And first of all, I think since we're doing this on LinkedIn, I'm just going to speak to people as if they're interested in this question from a business context, because of course there's different types of coaches, right? And there's different types of mentors. You might need somebody that wants to be more of a life coach or a life mentor, and we're going to talk about business today. So if you are someone that is in desperate need to get your personal life together, then you can go and interview some life coaches. But today I'm going to talk about business coaches, just so we put it in context. And I guess so when you think about a coach, the first thing that comes to mind, and perhaps the best analogy, would be from sports, right? Professional sports team that hires a coach. So the first thing I think is important to distinguish the difference between a coach and a mentor is a coach is usually someone you hire, someone that you pay. I guess in sports, you may have some volunteer coaches, maybe dad coaching the little league team or something, but when you look at professional context of coaches, they're all getting paid to be there. And usually a coach is getting paid for a set period of time, right? Like they'll get a 3-year contract to be the coach. Now maybe it gets extended, maybe they end up being a coach for longer, but it's usually a smaller period of time, a shorter period of time that someone gets hired to be a coach. And when you think of what a coach's job is, I mean, we could probably list lots of things, but first and foremost, a coach's job, I think, is to help people reach their full potential, both individually and as a team. And of course, that involves a lot of things. It involves perhaps coaching you on skill set, helping you focus on the right activities, hold you accountable, introduces ways for you to measure your progress. I think a good coach asks you a lot of questions because a good coach helps you discover the answers for yourself, right? So these are the kinds of things I think of when I think about a coach. So if you put that in context of your business, is that what you need? Do you need someone that can help you fine tune your skills and bring out your full potential? Do you need someone that's going to help you stay accountable and measure your progress? Do you need somebody that can, be consistently cheerleading for you in a way too? A lot of
Mhm.
coaches cheerlead. Some coaches yell at people, but some of them cheerlead. So maybe those are some of the things you need in your business right now, and so that's how I would define a coach. Now, what about a mentor? We hear the word mentor a lot, but what does it really mean? Well, when I think of a mentor, I think of somebody that is not paid. I don't think that there's any amount of money you could pay someone to be your mentor if they're truly going to be a mentor. Oftentimes, a mentor is somebody that has seen potential in you. And maybe you remind them of themselves. Maybe they see some little spark that intrigues them. Maybe they are up for the challenge because they're really liking what they see in you. And so they want to be your mentor. It's not like you hired them to be your mentor. They want to be your mentor. And oftentimes, the relationship between you and your mentor is a long period of time, perhaps even lifetime, but certainly much longer than a short period of time that a coach typically gets hired for. And oftentimes, some deep rooted relationships are established with a mentor. I've had a couple of mentors over the years in business, and those are people that I still have deep relationships with today. So I think of that when I think of a mentor. I also think of somebody ideally who has already gone where you want to go. So a mentor has success in your field. They're going to mentor you to repeat what they've done. And typically, a mentor is someone who has great vision. They really inspire you. A coach might be, um, you know, the kind of person, like, think of a trainer at the gym. Like, how to do a push up, and how to do a pull up, and how to do a squat, but you hire that trainer because they're just getting you into action all the time, right? They're holding you accountable. Well, a mentor is much bigger than that. A mentor is someone that's painting a vision, and really inspires you. So they're not the type of person that's saying, okay, one more push up, one more pull up. They're the type of person that's big picture thinker, inspiring you to accomplish everything you have the potential to do. I think coaches can give you coaching on experience, but mentors would be even better if they could teach you through the experience in the same field as you want to be successful in. And not all people who have been successful make good coaches or mentors. I mean, I think of somebody like
Right.
a Wayne Gretzky. I'm a hockey guy, and Wayne Gretzky was the greatest player to ever play hockey, but man, he tried coaching for a couple of years and that was a disaster, right? But I bet you Wayne Gretzky would be a great mentor. If he saw some little kid that had all the sparks of becoming a superstar, and he just maybe saw himself in that kid. And I bet you if he took on the job of mentoring somebody, I bet you he'd be a great mentor, but he wasn't necessarily a great coach. I think
Right.
mentors tend to have uh, answers for the big questions, right? So coaches might ask you questions, hoping that it inspires you to come to the answers yourself. But I think mentors are people that are often giving you great wisdom and advice. So they have a lot of answers. And I think mentors are really focused on the long term. And maybe one of the most important things with a great mentor is somebody that is going to take the journey with you. So they're not coaching from the sidelines, they're on the field, they're in the game. So those are some of the most common things I think of when I look at the differences between a coach and a mentor.
Yeah, those are great. I'm thinking about this morning at the gym. CJ, as you know, is one of my coaches, and he's like soft spoken from the sidelines, telling me what to do. Then I got Zach. Zach walks in and he yells at me. He's the coach that yells at me. Myrna, do
Yeah.
that. And I asked him, I actually told him I'd pay him $100 if he would do all those squats for me, and he wouldn't even take the money. So it
Yeah.
was pretty funny. Yeah, I think about that. I think the mentor is, if I was to say, okay, come show me how to run, as an analogy of the gym, like show me the proper way to run and then run with me, kind of linking arms and doing it together. So that's a great way to look at it. Okay, so let's assume that I decide I really need a business coach. What should I look for in a business coach? Because I feel like in this last few years, and maybe since COVID, because so many people started working from home, that a lot of people have decided, okay, well, now I'm a coach. But there's some great coaches out there. I mean, I've had a great coach, but then there's some that are like, I mean, I could be a coach. I could do that. And I've got more experience under my belt. So how do I find a great business coach?
Yeah, there's always kind of this inside joke in the business world that when somebody leaves their job in corporate America, they become a consultant. And so I
Mhm.
always I kind of look at that same trend happening these days with people who have been independent entrepreneurs, home-based businesses, people that have maybe done those types of things. They all become coaches these days. They take an online course and now they can hang their shingle somewhere and say, okay, now I'm a coach, right? So, and listen, there's great coaches, but you do have to be really careful in terms, if you're going to spend your hard-earned money on hiring someone to be a coach, what would you look for? I'm going to give you 5 things that I think are important. And of
Okay.
course, this advice today is free. There's also an old saying that says advice is worth as much as you pay for it. So since this is free today, take it with a grain of salt, so to speak. But I think these are 5 things I would look for if I was going to hire a business coach. Number 1 has nothing to do with how much do they cost. Number 1 is compatibility. Compatibility. How well do you get along? How well do you connect? is the chemistry there? And that's really important. Again, think back to the analogy of a professional coach with a sports team. I've seen all kinds of examples over the years of coaches that have a long track record of coaching multiple teams to success and victory, and then they get hired by a team and it just doesn't happen at this new team for some reason. 2, 3, 4 years go by, it's not gelling, it's not connecting. Maybe the players don't connect with the personality, maybe it's a different style, whatever it is, that coach just doesn't connect with those players. And so the same thing for you. You have to have a coach that you feel you have compatibility with. Number 2 for me is knowledge. And knowledge comes with some with experience, some with just study. I mean, certainly if you have an MBA, in theory, you know what to do to be a business manager. But if you haven't worked in the field yet in business, exercising those things you learn, knowledge goes hand in hand with experience, right? So that's number 3. I want someone that's knowledgeable, but number 3, I want someone that has experience. And so if I was interviewing someone to be my business coach, I'd want to know, like, how long have you been a coach? Who have you worked with? What types of businesses have you had success with? Give me some examples of people that you've coached and their backgrounds and where they come from and what sort of businesses they're in. Those are just questions I would ask. And number 4 is I would ask for references. In fact, I would even look for references beyond the ones that a potential coach would be willing to give me, because of course they're not going to give you any people to call as a reference that's going to say anything bad about them. Right. So maybe you want to go online and see if you can dig up a little bit of information, just organically, what people are saying about a coach, unsolicited feedback from people who are raving about some coach that they've hired. So those might be some things to look into. But number 5, which I think is really, really perhaps a different perspective than some of you have thought of, and maybe some of the coaches that watch this might cringe when they hear me say it, but I'm not trying to offend anybody. But I think if I was hiring a business coach, I'd be looking for someone who was willing to tie their compensation in to my results. Ooh. So think about what I mean by that. Can you find a coach that's willing to charge you based on how well you succeed or improve on the things they're coaching you on? That's an interesting concept, isn't it? Now, listen, every coach deserves to be paid for their time, whether you get results or not, right? Their time is valuable, of course. But what if there was some sort of a connection there where they said to you, hey, you only pay me if I get you to where you want to go, or if I help you become successful. There's a great show on TV. Some of you have probably seen this show called The Profit. I love that show. This gentleman who's been very successful in business goes into struggling businesses that are literally on the verge of collapse, and he collaborates with them. He even invests his own money into those businesses to help them turn around. I love watching that show because it's not like he's just coming in as a consultant and saying, well, if you pay me $10,000, I'll come in and analyze your business and tell you everything you're doing wrong, right? No, that's not what he does. He comes in and says, okay, here's how we're going to partner. I'm going to invest this amount of money. Here's what I want in return, and we're going to turn this business around. I love that because he's got a vested interest in the success of the business. He's not just sitting back saying, if you pay me, I'll tell you what you're doing wrong. And so I kind of think that if I was hiring a business coach, I'd be very clear in my intentions of what my goals are with that coach. And so we'd figure out some sort of compensation that was commensurate with my results. Now, from the coach's point of view, if you're not coachable, right, they got to be able to fire you too.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. That would need to be part of the contract. But, I really like what you're saying because, I mean, gosh, if I had somebody coaching me and I said, okay, here's the thing, here's my goals, here's what I want to achieve. And when I do, with the help of your coaching, there's like a balloon payment at the end, almost kind of idea. Like, right, you're going to get a piece of this when I earn that. I mean, what a great incentive for both parties. I love it.
Well, maybe you've heard stories over the years of different successful movie stars that after they've become very successful, they actually take certain movies on contingencies where they say, well, I'll make the movie for $1 or whatever, but I want X percentage of the take at the box office. And so guess what? They're banking on the fact that they have enough belief in themselves that that's going to be a draw and they're going to get paid based on the box office sales, not based on agreeing to do a movie for $20 million. So it's the same kind of concept there, right? A coach that's really confident in their ability to help you would probably be willing to do that.
Well, you coaches that are listening in, that I'd sit on that for a little bit, and that was great, Mark. Okay, well, let's switch gears. So now, if I've decided that I need a mentor, how on earth do I go about finding someone that wants to mentor me? Of course, and I'm not going to pay them because, again, I know for ourselves, we've mentored, oh my gosh, hundreds, if not thousands of people over the years. How do I get a mentor's attention? Like if I think they're amazing and I'm like, I want to learn from them, what do I do?
Yeah, good question. Well, I don't know if we've mentored thousands, but we've certainly mentored a few dozen people, because when you take on
Feels like
mentors,
1,000.
yeah. Well, that's because when you and I mentor someone, I'm the mentor and you're the tormentor.
Well, that is true. That is true. Okay.
Okay, so how to choose a mentor? Well, I said earlier that a mentor has probably been successful in your field. So I think that to find someone that is a really perfect mentor for you, obviously it's not someone you can hire, it's not someone you can pay. I think first and foremost, you have to be looking for someone that has mastered what you want to master. So if you are selling, swimming pool covers and a guy that's been a really successful mechanic who can teach anybody how to fix a car, is that going to be a good mentor for you when you want to become better at selling swimming pool covers? You know what I mean? Like, just because they've been successful in business doesn't mean they're a perfect mentor for you. I think a perfect mentor relationship is when you find somebody that is where you want to be in the industry you're in. So they've mastered what you want to master. That's a perfect mentor, I think. Also, number two, someone that's still on top of their game. Otherwise, you're just getting instruction. You can go to school and pay for an education, but most times the instructor is not going to get out on the job with you, right? So someone that's still on top of their game and someone that has a vested interest in your success always makes for the perfect mentor relationship. I know in our business, when we team up with people who we have a vested interest in them becoming more successful because it's positive for us as well, that relationship is perfect, right? Number four, I'd look for somebody that is willing to have an apprentice type relationship. So when you think of someone who's an apprentice, you think of someone that's been studying a certain trade and now they're going to go work with a seasoned journeyman, a seasoned tradesperson who maybe has years of experience and success in that trade. But they're not just going to sit at their feet and watch them do something. They're going to be on the job with them. It's on the job training. And so do you have someone who could mentor you that's on top of their game, still in the game, willing to team up with you as if you're an apprentice, be on the job with you every single day? That's a perfect mentorship relationship. And then number five, and this is something that is incumbent upon each of us, why do we deserve to be mentored by them? So number five is we have to get noticed. So I used the analogy of Wayne Gretzky earlier and saying he might not have been a great coach, but I bet you he'd be a super mentor if he saw some young hockey player and he saw the spark of being great and he took on that ability to mentor them, right? So I think of it in terms of business. You have to get noticed for someone to be willing to mentor you. I mean, it's really important because I guess the easiest way I could explain this is, Myrna, you and I have been approached by hundreds or thousands of people to mentor them. In fact, we speak internationally, sometimes in front of thousands of people, and most commonly after some sort of a training event, if we're chit-chatting with people, visiting with people afterwards, that's usually when people ask us that question. And we always get asked, will you mentor me? And so obviously it wouldn't even be fair for us to say yes to everybody that asks that question. There's no way we could have time for all those people. So what do we look for? We look for that spark. I get a challenge out of it when I see somebody that has all the right attributes. They got a great attitude. They're trying hard. They're a sponge soaking up information. They're showing up. They just have that spark. And I see it in them and I go, wow, that's a person I would like to mentor. And
Yeah.
mentoring, I always tell people when I get into a mentorship relationship with them too, by the way, mentoring doesn't mean that I'm going to call you every Monday at 8 a.m. and talk to you for an hour about trying to motivate you to get out of bed and go do something this week. That's not mentoring. Okay. Mentoring is you and I are going to talk about our goals. I'm going to give you advice. I'm going to share my pearls of wisdom. I'm going to be involved in the activities with you. But you got to be self-motivated, right? And if I don't see that spark of self-motivation, then chances are I don't want to be your mentor. I want to mentor someone that has that self-motivation.
Right. Well, being involved, I think, is that one of the key words there, because again, being a mentor, we're involved. And, I always think about when we have somebody new that we're working with together or individually, it's like falling in love all over again, right? It's those sparks, like you're so excited and happy for that person because they've got that twinkle in their eye. They've got that self-motivation. And it feels awesome. It makes me want to jump out of bed and get going with them every single day to help them achieve the success that they're looking for.
Exactly.
Cool.
It's fun. It's fun being a mentor
So
when
fun.
you're working with somebody like that.
Yeah, it is. So this is great, Mark. Before we wrap up, or I just want to let everybody know we've got some things coming up I'm going to tell you about. But do you have any last thoughts that you want to share with everyone, Mark?
Well, I guess one thing I was thinking about while we were chatting is I would be concerned if there's some people out there right now that are thinking to themselves, okay, this is great information, but I'm just getting started in whatever I'm doing, so I don't have a lot of free capital right now, so I really can't afford to hire a business coach. And after listening to what you're saying here today, maybe I actually need more of a mentor right now. So, but I haven't done anything spectacularly yet to get noticed. So any of the people that I would admire that are successful in my field probably wouldn't want to mentor me right now. I think there might be some people that could be thinking that. So here's what I would give you as some advice if that's the situation you're in. Obviously, you need to get something going so that you get noticed, so the person you'd love to mentor you would see that spark in you, right? So, but think of all the things that you can use to improve your skill set or to help you get better that won't cost you anything. I mean, we live in an information age today, don't we? The other day, I had a flat tire on my bike. It's a relatively new bike. It's an electric bike, so it's a little bit complicated with all the sprockets and this and that and the next thing. And I wasn't sure if I could fix the flat tire. And Myrna said, well, why don't you YouTube it? So do a search. And sure enough, I found a YouTube video on how to change a flat tire on my exact bike, my exact model. I couldn't believe it. There it is right there for free, right? Think of all the podcasts that you can access. We have so much information. You can see that sit at the feet of some of the people that you want to learn from. Maybe you haven't done anything to get noticed yet, so they'll mentor you yet, but I bet you a lot of those types of people that have been tremendously successful in the field that you want to succeed in probably already have some sort of instructional videos or podcasts or maybe live events, things that you can follow them. And in school, I always said you didn't have to be the smartest kid in class. You can just sit next to the smartest kid in class and copy all their work, right? Of course, they called that cheating when we were in school, but in life, it's emulation, right? They say, what is it? What's the highest form of flattery when somebody copies what you're doing? Imitation is the highest form of flattery. So I like to use the word emulation. You can emulate what you're seeing other successful people do and start to have success and start to get noticed. And maybe if you're that person that's a sponge, just soaking in all the information you can from some of the leaders in your field, one of those successful people will notice you and will say, hey, this person is destined for great things, and I'd love to be their mentor. So maybe that's where you get started. Just be that sponge and learning from everywhere you can go. Like this, for example. This was free today, right? There's all kinds of stuff like that you can plug into.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being with me, Mark. That was fun. And just so y'all know what's coming up, Mark and I have decided for the next few weeks, not next week because we've got something already booked, but the
Right.
week after, we're going to be back here with you. And with the recession and inflation, oh my gosh, I tell you, I went and gassed my car up. I can't believe what's happened to gas in the last 10 days, 14 days. It's like since the last time I gassed up, it's crazy what's happening. And so many people are wanting to start an e-commerce business. They're looking at the gig economy and they're trying to figure out what's out there for me. Like, where do I even begin to look? So I encourage you all to come back and spend some time with Mark and I. We've got answers to questions you've probably not even considered yet that can really help you make the right decision for what you should do. You don't want to just jump into something and, it not being able to help you pay the bills and take care of business for yourself. So I encourage you to come back, watch for notification here as to when we're going to do that. And we've got, it's probably going to take us a few times of going through information, and we're going to give you more and more things for you to know, things you want to know, things that make you go,
Things that'll help you analyze whatever you're looking at. And in fact, I think for week number 1, we'll start with what I'm going to call the 3 fatal errors people make when they jump into some sort of a side gig. So you won't want to miss that.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks everyone. We look forward to seeing you back here in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.
Bye.